Hello everyone, my name is Lowko, and welcome to a best of 5 series of StarCraft Evolution, where we have a 2 versus 2 match, where apparently one set of teammates is playing both StarCraft 2 as well as StarCraft 1, and then simultaneously on the other end of the map, where's the Zerg player? There we go. Yeah, we likewise have a Brood War Terran joining forces with a StarCraft 2 Zerg. So spawning right here in the bottom left, playing in blue, we have none other than ByuN, his ally in this best of 5 series, playing with, I guess, the green-ish, the cyan-ish, the turk, whatever color this is. We're looking inside of the main base of Solar, and then their opponents apparently using not voice chat, but in-game chatter instead. First off, with the orange StarCraft 1 pieces, we have HeroMarine, and his ally is none other than the Protoss player Classic. So I was wondering, how would 2 versus 2 work in StarCraft Evolution? So in case you're unfamiliar, StarCraft Evolution has been in development for some time, but normally we see it only as a 1 versus 1 game mode, where one of the two players is playing StarCraft 1, and then the other one is playing StarCraft 2, and then you alternate in the, well, upcoming games in the series. This has been in development for a very long time, and they are still actively working on it, still constantly improving it as well. Apparently, they now even have like a 1 versus 1 ladder, which is pretty great. Either way, I was wondering, how would a 2 versus 2 work? Do you have 2 players playing StarCraft 1, and then the others playing StarCraft 2? Not quite. Apparently, we are, well, having one SC1 player and then one SC2 player on each team. Okay, so what exactly do we have here? HeroMarine was saying, I go CC first again. Ok, Brood War CC first. Good, I think? Yes. Alright, Classic is a man of few words, but he does agree right here. Apparently, we're going to be able to read their strategies from the in-game chat. You love to see it. Very, very nice. Alright, so Factory coming up on the back of this. CC done indeed on the low ground. Nexus right now as well here for Classic, who is probably going to go into either a Stargate or a Twilight Council. I think that would make the most sense. What's it going to be? It's going to be a Twilight Council, so probably something like Blink Stalkers. I think that's probably ideal. I was given this series, by the way, by the developer, or one of the developers of StarCraft Evolution. So I notice here that HeroMarine is saying again. I think that probably is because this is later on in the tournament. He said that, the developer said that this particular best of 5 was the best of the entire event. So we're going to find out together. This is game number 1. I think the again probably just implies that they already did play a couple of series together before this one. In the meantime, though, Solar is going into a good old hatchery, a triple hatch opener. Apparently, he's crossing the creep. I always feel that the Zerg player should probably take this base on Yellow Jacket, just because otherwise things get it gets a little bit messy. You can't, if you are ByuN in this instance, right, you can't be building onto creep. Obviously, you can't do that in StarCraft 2. You most definitely also cannot do that in StarCraft 1. Either way, we've got ourselves our first group of Brood War Marines going out. And that does mean I have to go ahead and hunt down everybody's favorite structure. Scream for us, Academy. Okay, it was very far in the distance. I feel like that sound effect could be bumped up by about 1,000%. If you're watching on headphones, maybe you could have picked up on it as well. Either way, nice little attack here from ByuN and Solar. There's already a few vultures available together with some stalkers. Blink is only about halfway done, but Warp Gates has completed. Apparently, we're just going to try and bust through here. ByuN and Solar starting this series off in a very aggressive manner, but those SCVs here have to be respected. Yeah, plenty of troops available. And ultimately, I think this entire army in blue is just going to die. Oh, yeah. The Marines were a lot more excited about using the Stimpaks back in the 90s. Not bad. We're going to be adding on more and more upgrades here, though. So we've got ourselves the, I think it was just the +1 upgrade finishing up, or maybe you started it and then canceled it. Either way, we're also going to be adding on, I would imagine, the ranged upgrade is what that is for the Marines. They're going to be setting up the high ground here, trying to see if they can potentially intercept any vultures. HeroMarine, though, going in around the site. Okay, probably not paying attention there for just a moment. Is going to end up losing a few of them. He did already get the speed improvement for the vultures. I would imagine we're also going to be indeed getting the good old spider mine over here in the machine shop. It's always nice to get those going. You will have to research Siege Mode. One of the most commonly forgotten upgrades I've noticed. There it is. A lot of StarCraft 2 Terrans in particular forget about this upgrade all the time. It's pretty expensive, but lucky here for HeroMarine, he does start it up. Because otherwise, you can't siege up your tanks. Yeah, pretty useful. Likewise here for ByuN, he's getting that started right now himself. Actually building this nice little cluster of Terran structures here. That is the way that people do it in StarCraft 1. Obviously, though, in this engine, right, if you're playing the StarCraft Evolution version of Brood War, you can just hit the hotkeys and produce out of it, but the way that in StarCraft 1 people usually produce, because in StarCraft 1 you can only hotkey one structure at a time. You cannot easily hotkey all the things. Usually what people do is they set up a control group for the camera location. So say this is camera location control group F2. You hit F2 on the keyboard, then you click, 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 right? And you hit the corresponding unit that you want to build. It does take a little bit of practice. It's probably not ideal for your mouse hand. But hey, who needs a functioning carpal tunnel anyways? Who needs a functioning carpal tunnel when you can be a high-ranking RTS player? Ooh, the sound effects are so nice. Road speed coming up right now for Solar. So where are we ending up here? All players seem to now want to expand. HeroMarine is using his setup here to basically allow team, I guess, Orange, the team in the upper right here, to turtle up. So using the spider mines here and then also the siege tanks to just control a lot of space. Again, moving out a little bit further. Getting those mines set up really does make it difficult for the opponents to get across. We have a lot of lings running around trying to set off those mines. In the meantime, though, ByuN and Solar are building up a reasonable army of their own. Wait, Solar actually is very much so light blue here at the bottom of the screen, but then he's very green on the actual minimap and in the actual game. A little bit confusing. Anyways, apparently we have figured out a way to try and get beyond this defensive line that HeroMarine is setting up, and we're going to try and send it out through a Nidus network. HeroMarine and Classic are spreading themselves very thin already. It's one of the difficult things about Terran mech in general. Usually the longer that the game goes on, the more spread out you're going to be. Ooh, as we're going to go into Swarm Host now. Alrighty then. Solar mixing things up. Nidus Swarm Host it is. I thought we were maybe going to try and put the Nidus Worm in the back of the main bases, but not the case. Corrosive Balls here, very nice, but those tanks are still plowing through all of this pretty quickly. In the meantime, what exactly is Classic up to? Classic has just gone into a very conventional Ground Toss army, it seems. Yeah. So mostly Stalker, Zealot, High Templar, Archon Immortal, that sort of thing. You can always add on a Mama ship or transition into Sky Toss a little bit later on. ByuN going for a little bit more of a conventional setup, at least early on. But now he's also starting to make a proper transition here to a very siege tank, vulture-heavy army. Dude, for some reason, every time I see an engineering bay fly, it cracks me up. I can just hear it scream. Whee! At least that's what I picture, with its arms spread out like that. A little bit of a push over here on the left side as the first wave of Locust apparently came through, but Storm and then some Zealots took care of it. This is going to now slow down the defense over here, though. Classic types go, indicating here to HeroMarine that he needs to get a move on. Nidus Worm in the meantime, though. Go? No. Very efficient communication. You can mark the minimap as well, man. You can tell your opponent to retreat that way, but I guess typing no is a little bit quicker. In the meantime, we have a nice little counterattack here as well, but plenty of tanks available, I think, here for HeroMarine to blast all of this off. In the meantime, there's also a counterattack from Solar going on. We may have a gigantic amount of HeroMarine set up, but what about just the main armies and counterattacking? Yeah, Terran mech is so slow to actually push with. Recall is going to be used here by Classic, bringing some of his army units back home. He needs to try and keep his bases alive while HeroMarine is, well, setting up shop on the other side of the map. I think the defense here from ByuN is plenty good. We have some Goliaths added into the mix right now as well here for HeroMarine. Going for a slightly more sophisticated late-game approach. There's a Nidus Worm over here. Solar is blocking it. HeroMarine has seen it, but he decided to just build the command center in a location where he can eventually take it. Well, At the very least, if the Zerg here has any say in the matter, that structure will be unable to finish, and I think that indeed just throwing the Locust down over here is totally fine. In the meantime, there is a secondary fight happening too. Solar fighting two fronts simultaneously. ByuN now breaking through the rocks. And this is turning out to be a very close game. All players here remarkably evenly matched. And this really is the cool thing about Brood War, right? About StarCraft Evolution. Oh, nice jump. Does get some of the High Templar, but he also eats a ton of storms. The game has just been so remarkably balanced in the matches that I've seen that everything is super competitive. Nice little counterattack here yet again, man. Those siege tanks, they need some protection. Like, a lot of the units for HeroMarine are out on the map. And while he's desperately trying to control all the space, he really needs to rely more on his teammate to be able to pull that sort of thing off. The spider mines, though, are nice. We have a couple of missile turrets set up as well, just to make it more difficult for Team Blue to advance. Keep in mind, though, that Solar's supply count is a little bit inflated. Counterattack here as well from Classic on the left side of the map. He's going to be able to force the council on a newly made command center that ByuN was trying to set up. Plus with air weapons here for Classic coming, together with a whole lot of additional Stargates. Roach Hydra going up against, well, this Ground Tools army, right? We're all very familiar with that sort of engagement. Alright, we do have a bit of a vulture run by here from HeroMarine. Nidus Worm going up in a very exposed location. Classic is going to be able to take care of that easy peasy. HeroMarine is doing a remarkably good job, though, just setting all of this up. Weirdly enough, going for the comset station over here. That is going to now perma-block his own expansion over here. I'm not exactly sure why. Likewise, though. Wait, actually, was it... Yeah, I don't know. Classic is indeed going into that Skytools transition. It is very easy to get a bit confused by all of the action around the map. I guess that's what happens when you get, well, north of like 1,000 APM in total throughout a match like this. These players are all capable of fighting 2 to 3 locations simultaneously. And obviously when you have so many of them going at it all at the same time, it does tend to get a little chaotic. Team Blue, though, is making a lovely push forward. Yep. HeroMarine's command center here is going to be taken care of, so at least his base won't be blocked anymore. Loads and loads of spider mines being set up too. That is the rapid fire that you have access to in SC2, where you can very quickly plant down some more of those spider mines. He's now even getting them into a position too that is going to be remarkably difficult to break. Again, exposed siege tanks here. Solar's going to try and push through it all. HeroMarine bringing some of his dropships nearby too, just to get close and within range, but he is going to lose another command center. In the meantime, the vultures are breaking through the front lines over here too. This CC cannot die. HeroMarine is being picked apart. Yeah, Nidus Worm as well in the back, apparently killing the natural expansion of Classic. And I think what's going wrong here for Team Orange is that Classic is going for this Skytools transition, which is normally really good for Protoss, but they're being eaten up from the inside out. It's such a slow transition to make that you're very vulnerable for like 5 minutes. And clearly, ByuN and Solar have decided that they are not going to give the opponents that much time. They're very likely using voice chat, by the way. Classic, of course, being Korean. HeroMarine being German. I would imagine that Classic's German is not that great. Likewise, HeroMarine's Korean is probably nothing to write home about, so they're using the in-game chat. Now Solar making the switch on over towards Lurkers as well. Yeah, they're controlling the battlefield really nicely. Look how hard of a time, though, these vultures are having with Immortals. So sick. Man, I do love vultures. I do love Goliaths. I do love the old school, very rectangular-looking siege tanks. I like the spider mines. I like the signs vessels. I like everything here, man. Okay. ByuN getting more and more upgrades for his mech army, too. Those spider mines taking up so much, not just of, like, the general battlefield, but also the mini-map. Normally in StarCraft 2, when you see this many little squares set up, it means that there's just loads of units set up, but apparently the spider mines, well, they command a lot of presence on the mini-map. Okay, Classic and HeroMarine need to go back to the drawing board. If they are given enough time, maybe they can both still max out and go for one final hurrah. As it stands, though, ByuN and Solar are just eating them up. There is one hidden base in the far upper left that HeroMarine managed to sneak out. But it does not seem to me that Team Blue is slowing down at all. They are trying to push further and further forward. I love the Science Vessel's defensive spell there as well, as the siege tanks and the vultures here in orange were trying to blast through it all. And I think we're getting to the point now where Solar and ByuN are tightening the noose. They've been fighting a lot of independent engagements, but they're winning all of their individual fights, and soon they can join forces together. Lurkers in the main base, Warmost in the main base too. That's now the main base of Classic destroyed. And apparently with that, HeroMarine decides to GG out, and likewise Classic is gonna leave. A very dominant performance in game number 1. The second map for today is a new Bed of Chaos, and it looks to me, oh, interesting, that both of the players in Team Blue have now switched over to Brood War, and in the meantime, down south, yeah, we have both HeroMarine and Classic playing StarCraft 2. Okay, so this is now a proper StarCraft 1 versus StarCraft 2 match. I'm really liking this, man. It's so chaotic. It's really quite difficult to keep track of everything. Mostly because, like, there's a few reasons, right? First off, the players are ridiculously fast. If they all had 100 APM, I could keep track of every engagement pretty easily. But secondly, this is also very much so unexplored territory. 2v2 in StarCraft 2 and in StarCraft 1, for that matter, are not nearly as popular as the 1v1 counterparts. And then obviously, with this unique game mode added on top of it, the rules are completely thrown out of the window. There's some assumptions we can make, but it is going to be difficult to really determine what the quote-unquote correct way is to play. Ooh, bit of body blocking here. Probe is just going to go around now. So Solar is opening up triple hatch. The reason for it is pretty straightforward. You do not have queens. Well, you do have queens, but they fly, and they don't inject hatcheries. You don't have queens early on here as the Zerg player. It's going to be hatch into spawning pool gas. In the meantime, Classic here going into a good old Nexus Cybercore. Fair enough. Factory after Reaper right here for HeroMarine, who's opting to go double gas here. So we will see a command center momentarily, but they're opting for a little bit more early game pressure at least. The Terran here is no more communication. Maybe they discussed what they're going to do beforehand. Probably makes the most sense to discuss that before the game actually begins. Ooh, bunker added into the mix too. At least he was thinking about it. If you want to plant down a bunker, you're going to have to do it right now. Man, there's something so nice about these graphics. So, some of these will be made by Blizzard. Like, for example, this Command Center skin was made by Blizzard. But many of the other things, like, for example, and I can't really tell, right? Which is probably a good sign. But a lot of the other skins are made by the community members and the developers that, yeah, help make this particular mod. It's the same for that spawning pool, for example. Little Zorklings over here. They look a lot different than the StarCraft 2 counterpart. And that's one of the things they've been working on for StarCraft Evolution. They're basically just making custom models that are more representative of what StarCraft 1 units would look like in StarCraft 2. Apparently the SC1 Lynx, they look a little bit more bipedal, I guess. They still have 6 legs, but make tank. Make tank neat! At least we're getting the surround over here. Dude, I love the way that Koreans speak English sometimes. It's so funny to me. Hydra then next to it as well. What's really funny is that most StarCraft 2 professionals that, like, have been there for a while, like, for example, Classic. I don't really know about Classic specifically, but a lot of them have taken English classes. And they know how, like, their English is remarkably good if you talk to them in person. Many of them, at the very least, can hold a reasonable conversation. But then as soon as we start going back to that sort of conversation, it always is kind of funny to me. All right, anyways. Classic going into a good old Oracle. Siege tank production indeed has begun. There is a single Hydralisk set up, but Hydras are, of course, a little bit finicky. 2 drones die. Okay, another Hydra does pop out. And so far, even without queens, maybe he didn't need the help of a few marines here and there, they do have a remarkably nice army. And you know what? Solar and ByuN are actually committed to a fight. Keep in mind that medics can heal biological units, and that includes the Zerg here. Doesn't this look cool? Ay, ay, ay. I don't know if it's just nostalgia or whatever, but it's got something beautiful, man. So we don't have Zergling speed. We're instead opting to go for what I think is muscular augments and then now grooved spines for those Hydralisks. And let's see, can we break through this? Those siege tanks, those bunkers, those shield batteries, though. That is not going to happen. Wow. And upon that attack failing, apparently we just immediately GG out. Next up, we find ourselves on Rust Bucket. And this time around, okay, we once more have the teams choosing StarCraft 2 and then also StarCraft 1. Yes, I think Sky plus Mech. All right. Now, I had a quick look at the rules that are listed on Wikipedia, and it says the following. So, map 1 is Brood War plus StarCraft 2 versus Brood War plus StarCraft 2. Then the remaining maps, Brood War and StarCraft 2, is determined by the losing team of the previous map. So if the losing team selects Brood War plus Brood War, then the winning team must play StarCraft 2 plus StarCraft 2. If the losing team selects Brood War plus StarCraft 2, then the winning team must do the same. If the losing team selects StarCraft 2 plus StarCraft 2, the winning team must play Brood War versus Brood War. So effectively, long story short, there must always be 2 StarCraft 2 players and then 2 StarCraft 1 players. And the losers dictate who picks what. Very cool. So that means that ByuN and Solar were forced into Brood War in the previous game, and now they are returning the favor here in this particular match to the opposing team. Gotcha. Classic, by the way, was in the right in that previous game. He did tell HeroMarine to make tank, and make tank he did. Turned out to be a great choice. Look at that derpy little probe skin. I love it. I love it. It's very nice. It's got something funky to it. It's the same for like the Gateway and the Cyber Core. It's beautiful. The Cyber Core is very circular. Like, it's the same with this Assimilator. For some reason, it's a lot more, like, the shapes are a lot more round. I guess they are as well in SC2, but it's just it's a different type of round. Look. It's like little balloons over here. Kind of looks like if you jump on the Cybernetics core, you can jump from one of the little orbs to the next one, to the next one, to the next one, right? Like, it seems like a fun little game for children. I would do it as an adult, but anyways. All right, factory in the meantime here for ByuN. Likewise here, Solar. Just opening up with something relatively normal, although he did pull out of gas. So just enough gas here for the metabolic boost. Now we're going to go straight, indeed, into a third base. You can look as well, by the way, at the bottom of the screen. I've just now noticed that there are little race indicators for the players. So this is the StarCraft 1 Terran, StarCraft 1 Protoss, and then obviously StarCraft 2 for the other team. A couple of Dragoons coming up. Classic wants to get rid of the Zergling scouts for now. Oh, he was trying to shoot from the low ground up to the high ground, which does have a percentage chance to miss. The scouts are being destroyed, though. And that means that it's going to be difficult here to really get any follow-up info. Solar apparently losing an Overlord as well somewhere out on the map. Really? Classic is making the unit that is widely considered to be the absolute worst in StarCraft 1. He's making a scout. As a matter of fact, he's adding on a second Stargate right now to mass-produce scouts. Now, they're gonna need to come out sooner, though, rather than later, because ByuN and Solar are already hitting the opponents in the face yet again. One scout is indeed gonna try and join in. A lot of Zerglings, though, are just difficult to kill. Looks like the Wolof here needed to be reset up once more, and this scout really has its work cut out for itself. We're gonna need to see way more of them. In the meantime, though, Solar is just rushing across the map, trying to make as many links as possible. Looks like the links, though, are having a difficult time breaking through the gateway, sending the troops on around the side. And while HeroMarine does lose a lot of SCVs, I think he's probably going to be able to stabilize, at least until that next wave of links comes through. We really should be trying to wall our way back in. Double scout production right now, though, for Classic. Vultures are nice, but they're struggling against the good old links. That's a lot of damage. It is a lot of damage. ByuN now joining as well with a medevac drop. And this may just be too many SCV losses. HeroMarine says, I am dead. Yeah. Classic is still fine, though. Like, that is obviously one of the strengths of the Scout. So Scouts, by the way, are a very different unit than they are in StarCraft 1 itself. They did buff them quite significantly to make them viable in this mod. Maybe if Classic can make enough Scouts, we can actually sort of stabilize. Because there's no reliable counter for ByuN and Solar at the moment to really get rid of those flying units. But, I mean, if we want to stabilize here, we're going to have to just sort of sit at home, I guess. You would like to counterattack, but it's going to be real difficult to pull off. There is a backdoor entrance, too, so I would imagine Solar is probably going to be nibbling through that in a moment. Okay, the Scouts go across. So I know that they did buff Scouts for a while, and that during one of the previous patches of StarCraft Evolution, these units apparently were really busted. I don't really know how they are currently. They have been regularly updating the game, making a lot of balance updates all the time. So I'm not really sure exactly how strong the Scout is at the moment, but it's funny that it went from like the worst unit to apparently one of the most overpowered ones. And considering we're going to double down, Fleet Beacon added in, yeah, we're going to go into a third Stargate, okay. Maybe Classic had a difficult time getting there in the first game of this best of 5. But now he's just going straight into Skytles instead. Brood War Skytles. Let's see. Now keep in mind, you can share resources in 2v2. So HeroMarine could certainly receive some goodies. Classic is going to accidentally stumble upon the Zergling bites. And yeah, I feel like that was a very predictable thing to do. Scouts are going to have to fly all the way back home. But sadly here for Team Yellow, they did get caught off guard. +1 air weapons coming up. So many probes are going to die, man. More and more Zerglings now over at the forward third as well. At least this is where the Scouts return home. Okay. HeroMarine trying to absolutely micro his butt off here against a handful of links. Yeah. Helping out at least. Yeah, you know what? The Scouts are doing a good job. Like, Marines are normally just such a clear-cut counter. Those Marines just got murdered. Wait a second. ByuN may have overextended pretty hard. Ooh. That's a lot of siege tanks going down. A lot of expensive units in general. ByuN is also pushing, though, with a medevac, but HeroMarine is going to have to take care of that by himself for now. Scouts are actually really quite strong. They do need to be respected. This drop over here, though, could deal big damage as well. HeroMarine still not in a comfortable spot. But again, they are stabilizing. So if we look at the workers lost, right? Like, that is telling us a very large chunk of the story. There is still a drop going on as well from ByuN, which I think the Scouts are going to be able to take care of. But as the dust is settling now, we have had so many worker losses on the side of the players in the top left. ByuN and Solar have been mostly unharmed in that regard. If we have a look at the current worker counts in total, it's very clear that the team in the bottom right is much more comfortable. But I guess the one advantage here that Classic does have is a ridiculous amount of tech. He already did go for a couple of the banana ships. At least that's what the Classic carrier skin always looks like to me. He did make a bunch of them. And I don't really know, have we seen a lot of losses on the Scouts? Okay, only 4 of the Scouts have died. I think this is enough to really... Oh yeah, no, you can't get caught off guard like that. But they can now apparently almost 2-shot Queens. A little Zergling run by yet again. You gotta respect Skytles. Skytles in StarCraft 1, Skytles in StarCraft 2. You can never just fully ignore it. So we have Hydras together with Marines here for anti-air. Here's the flyby, though. Scouts are such a weird unit to me. They look just like regular human planes, I guess, but then somewhat Protossified. Why do they have little wings like that, man? If we are supposed to have crazy cool technology. Oy, oy, oy. Yeah, I think you guys are not going home. No recall available. We're gonna need some arbiters for that sort of shenanigans. Yeah, there are some really iconic StarCraft 1 units out there, right? Like the Hydralisk, like the Corsair. I don't think anybody would call the Scout their favorite unit. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some diehard Scout enjoyers out there. I'm just thinking if they ever were to make a StarCraft 3 strategy game, I don't think the Scout is gonna make the cut. No, I don't think you select that one. Now, do you pick Corsairs over Phoenixes? That's a better question. Maybe. Maybe. Hydras are gonna have to make the cut, for sure. Siege tanks, Marines, no question about it. Do you pick Vultures over Hellions? Do you pick Dragoons over Stalkers? Yeah, probably not. As much as I like Dragoons, I think that's one of the things that StarCraft 2 does really nicely. Anyhow, just wishful thinking at this point, because I don't think they're ever going to really be working on a StarCraft 3, but hey, a man can dream. The carrier count, though, is going up. My god, look at Classic's army. He's got 80 probes and then 5 carriers. That's it. Oh, dude. This is the most Gold League style I've seen Classic play in a while. As I speak, there are dozens of games going on identical to this where the Protoss player just has carriers and that's it. Nothing else. Very common strategy in team games, especially, I guess. You know what? HeroMarine has done a really remarkable job getting back into this game. I mean, as soon as I say that, he hits the supply block. Tank 1 to 2. Alright. Classic really loves tanks. Can't blame the man. You know, you have siege units too, Classic. Yeah, okay, maybe... Okay, whatever. It's more fun to micro your ally. Many people agree with that. I've played some MOBAs over the years. Ooh, tactical nuke coming up. Dark Templar. Could we get some Dark Archons going? You know what? That's confusion right over there. I think so, anyways. We are gonna get some Dark Archons going. Ooh. Dark Archons are always a little bit of a funky unit. We'll have to see exactly how they function in this mod here in just a moment. Look at the amount of static defense, though, that Classic has built up. Oh, Dark Archons. I think I've never seen those before in this game mode. We do have some good abductions, though. Say goodbye to your banana ships. And that is a massive, massive problem for Classic. He may be cooking up something special. He may have some really cool, fresh units here. Actually, is that confusion? Wait, Maelstrom? Ah. Dark Archons have a lot of spells, and they're pretty niche. Alright, anyways, we're gonna try and continue pushing. ByuN is trying to make his way to the front lines now, too. He's the tank, though. It's a bit weird when the Marines turn into the tanky unit. Carriers are still putting in the work. Yeah, and slowly but surely, Team Brood War here is actually stabilizing, right? Like, Classic may have lost a lot of expensive units, but he's got so much money that he can quickly replace it. ByuN and Solar still have a reasonable amount of economy, don't get me wrong. But their early game aggression did not really bear as much fruit as you would have imagined. It really looked like they had this game in the bag. Man, the Vipers have been just incredible. Tactical nuke. It's going to be utilized right here by ByuN. Always difficult. Looks like the Ghost itself, though, has been spotted. So HeroMarine will unsiege tanks. Move them a little bit further back. Tactical nuke will indeed land. We scan just to reveal whether or not anything got destroyed. You always love to see that. Tactical nuke into scan is a bit of a classic. Ooh, spider mines over here. Dealing a load of damage. Friendly fire as well. Gotta be careful with that. In the meantime, we have some zealots. Look at them. Actual warriors that have swords for hands. Going in deep. Irradiate is going to finish up as well. Phenomenal upgrade for science vessels to destroy Solar Zerg with. Kijkwijzer Amulet is the upgrade that allows you to have enough starting energy on the High Templar to start with enough for a storm. So there's a lot of things cooking up here. I'm not sure what upgrade this is. There's no way for me to read it off either, because I guess we'll see it here on the right side of the screen when it's nearly done. I don't recognize the little image. They did change most of those as well. But the Brood War boys here are cooking. Now there are so many carriers out, another tactical nuke will be sent across the battlefield. Oh, maybe we gotta do some mind control over here, man. Get rid of some of those Vipers, because the Vipers have been absolute keys. I guess the Ghost ended up dying, right? Yeah, no more Ghost over here. In the meantime, though, is there enough anti-air for Team Blue to get rid of all of those carriers? Classic decides to fly backwards, trying to get back to the somewhat safe range over here. Always going in with a Storm flank. Do we have Storm done? I mean, we did it, but I guess we never actually pressed a button. You know what? He got Kijkwijzer Amulet, but he never researched Side Storm. That's a little bit clumsy. Static Defense over here, though, also ends up falling. And this is where you can tell that the players are very comfortable, but not as comfortable as they would like to be. A set of storms there. Yeah, he starts to research now. Could have been absolutely game-ending. Solar and ByuN try to break through. Tactical nuke number 3. Flying across the battlefield right now. The carrier flank there would have been lovely. Looks like the next Ghost also ended up getting sniped. It's always a little sketchy. Classic is going to try and expand right next to where these armies are. In the meantime, though, HeroMarine is sneaking out more and more bases on the left side of the map. It seems that after the early game, he's been mostly left by himself. More abductions, man. Those Vipers are tearing them apart. Yeah, the Vipers are the absolute legends in this particular game. Providing so much value for Solar in particular, but now also ByuN is just getting so much out of it. Allowing his Marines to finish the job. Still, though, the Protoss static defense needs to be respected. Air weapons level 3 is just about done, so that's only going to make these Skytools units better. Triple tactical nuke, by the way. All being made at the same time. It's now finished, so we can see a little bit of that as well. A couple of Locusts up in the air, apparently. Not sure exactly why we went for a random Swarm host. Thor's added into the mix. More and more Hydras coming out. But HeroMarine, I mean, he's having a good time. HeroMarine is just expanding. Mostly letting Classic take care of the rest. ByuN is going to find out about how the very ambitious Terran from Germany has been gobbling up the map here. Likewise, also taking his side of the map. There's Larry, the accidental Swarm host. Good to see you, Larry. Nidus transition here, together with the Lurkers coming up for Solar. Don't mind seeing that at all. A couple of Blinding Clouds over here to disable the tanks, disable some of the static defense here set up as well. But there's the Irradiate going in. Irradiate basically destroys the biological units. And I would imagine, yeah, that this is now much easier to actually finish off. A lot of the irradiated units are ultimately gone. Now Storm is available. Trying to blanket as many of these units as possible. And I think Team Blue needs to go home. These units, both the Zergs as well as the Terrans, are looking remarkably low HP. Instead of backing off, though, we decide to nuke. We decide to nuke. There is a tactical nuke. Okay, the Ghost ended up getting sniped. Classic getting the job done just seconds before his entire army would have been decimated. He's got so many carriers now, making so many interceptor ships very quickly. 14 of them on the production tab here. Keep in mind that it's not free. HeroMarine going in with a bit of a vulture run by. Not bad. We aren't going to need to get all the upgrades, by the way. Like, did we get... Like, how many interceptors are these carriers carrying? 4. No. We got to get 8. Wait, dude, these carriers have been so strong as it is. And you're telling me they're only actually on their half capacity right now? I'm hoping here for Classic's sake, as we have another tactical nuke flying across the screen, that this upgrade over here is the carrier carrying capacity. Tactical nuke being used over here for zoning purposes, as ByuN is trying to take care of one of those newly made bases. Tactical nuke used for zoning. That's not gonna allow this indeed to land. That is indeed the carrier capacity. Another irradiate has been thrown down. A lot of these units are gonna take critical amounts of damage, but ByuN does take the base. Okay, now the carriers are gonna be able to max out. Now they all have room for 8 interceptors each. Critical upgrade that we should have seen a little bit sooner. ByuN having a grand old time though, sending nuke after nuke after nuke across the battlefield. Looks like the Vipers may have just been busted. Okay, that's 2 of them that I saw going down. Tactical nuke is gonna land on the left side of the screen, take care of a few of the structures here and there. Slowly gobbling up the bases. Cloak has been activated. This time around though, that Ghost is not gonna be able to land the nuke. Okay. Okay. We have a big engagement over here, actually. You know what? Are we having enough energy still left over for Storm? Parasitic Bomb has been used by the Vipers. Marines and Hydras trying to get close. We have a bunch of Archons getting morphed in too. Did Classic overextend with his carriers? I don't think he's gonna lose that many. Still, though, certainly not the position he wanted to be in. In the meantime, HeroMarine going in for the counterattack. GG gets cold. Wow. Even though they were on the verge of tapping out, it is Team Brood War here, HeroMarine and Classic, that managed to complete the comeback. And that will take us to Reclamation. Match point right here for HeroMarine and Classic, who have once more been forced into the StarCraft 1 units. And you know what they're gonna do? We're sending out the boys. It is time for a little bit of Brood War cheese. Actually, is it? No, I think this is actually just a scout, and we're just trying to do a forward wall. Never mind, guys, I got excited. Yo, imagine what that previous game would have looked like if Classic actually got the... if he got the carrier capacity before, like, the 20-minute mark. Actually insane how powerful those carriers were, considering they weren't even maxed. They had effectively half their possible maximum firepower, which is kind of crazy. Like, they already seemed, with 4 carriers, interceptors each, they already seemed borderline overpowered. And then they got up to 8. Alright, wall off over here indeed by HeroMarine. You cannot lower the supply depots, of course. Man, they have a lot of ventilation, I guess, inside of one of these little homes. Kind of nice. Yeah, most people just have like you know, if your house does have AC, most people just have like a tiny little device for that sort of thing. But apparently the Terrans have come up with a much better solution, man. This is like modern PC cases. Just make them all out of mesh. Okay. For my new computer, I recently got a new computer. I decided to go with a very large case. And when I first opened it up, because I needed to transfer an extra SSD into it, when I first opened it up, I realized that I probably would have been okay with a slightly smaller case instead, because there's a lot of space. There's a lot of wiggle room available, but that's okay. That's okay. I honestly don't mind it. I was thinking it's just sitting underneath my desk. And it's basically just a giant mesh box that is there to trap dust and to make it, you know, all run pretty nice. It is certainly much bigger than my previous case, but it's okay. Anyways, Classic is gonna go straight into Skytles yet again. Do we go into Scouts? Is that really what we're gonna be cooking up once more? Banelingness this time around for Solar. Maybe we'll go for like a Hellion Reaper Zergling Bane push? Because, I mean, Team StarCraft 2, right? Solar and ByuN in that previous game, they were just really seconds away from that game being over. And I wonder if this indeed is the key. If you can make a bunch of Banelings and bust open the front door, what in the world is HeroMarine gonna do against it? What in the world is Classic gonna be able to pull off? Who's once more opting to rush Scouts? Okay. Yeah, he's going double Stargate Scout. I don't know, man. Apparently Solar and ByuN have refined their build order a couple of additional steps. And as we know, every Zerg player loves busting. And Solar is going to try to do a little bit of his own. Let's see. Dragoons. Oh, they're going to try and stand in front of all of this. Okay, you know what? That wasn't even that bad. Yeah, you know what? Those Dragoons are putting in the work. Here's the Scout awkwardly walking forward. Come on, Scout. Why do you look so useless, Scout? Yeah, this is still so much damage dealt. Yeah, even though I think the defense was pretty good, we just have no units. He's gonna wall himself in fully, that's nice and all. But there's just not a lot of stuff available. Yeah, he's walling himself in with multiple layers of the stuff, though. And I guess now that we are walled in, we are kind of forced into only flying units. In the meantime, Vulture production has kicked in here for HeroMarine, who's been enjoying his quick command centers, but who may just fall short in the unit production. Okay. Wait a second. Are we going to end up in a very similar spot as the previous game? Because now it's time again for the scouts to... Well, once we are stable anyways, for the scouts to maybe go across the map. They're going to join in, kill that probe, kill the pylon rotter that was walling himself in. Natural expansion production is going to continue going, and I have been super hesitant to call the scouts a decent unit, but they do seem to be remarkably useful. Look at that long hair that the zealots have, man. The yellow colors as well makes them look like wasps or bees or whatever. Black and yellow, black and yellow, black and yellow. I guess back during the Brood Wars, they didn't need to sever their nerf cords yet. That wasn't yet until StarCraft 2. Alright. So, back to the drawing board we go again. And I'm wondering if ByuN and Solar are getting flashbacks to game number 3, where they likewise also got into a really good position, but then the game slowly slipped out of their hands. It seems that late-game Brood War units are extremely good in this particular mod. It just takes a while to get there. Like, Classic clearly did not play that perfectly in the previous game, right? I mean, considering he forgot about the carrier upgrade, I can imagine there's a lot of other little things that he could have improved on. Now, we do have a Cloak Banshee actually going in. Nah, this could be painful. It's already painful. So many probes die to just a single Banshee. Yeah, Classic also forgot about the Psystorm there. Like, he set up the perfect run-by. Like, the flank rotter came in through, and then he didn't actually have Psystorm done. Like, he started up Psystorm after the perfect flank, which is kind of clumsy. 16 probes die there to just a single Banshee, though. And I think that is a... Yeah, it's basically the perfect setup. If HeroMarine has no easy detection available, and he does not have an observatory done himself, Classic just takes massive amounts of damage. Cloak gets activated on Banshee number 2. And maybe the Banshees here are going to be able to put in about as much work as that entire main attack that we saw earlier. Oh, he's just going to go into the main base right now of the Terran instead. ByuN deactivates Cloak. Mostly because the Banshee has run out of energy. He's just putting in so much work. Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, I don't think there really is a similar unit to the Banshee in StarCraft 1, is there? It's kind of funny how that works. It's such a normal unit in SC2, but... it's a bit of a disaster. That's so many workers dying here. Corsair's coming up for Classic. It is a good day to die. That's the Corsairs, right? Scouts are going to be needed at home. He's seen the Mutalisks. He knows that he needs something that is a little bit faster paced. And that is exactly where these Corsairs come in. Units are a bit split up. One of the scouts ends up dying. Another Corsair here, kind of messy. Solar, though, is not going to be able to kill everything, I don't think, now with the scouts coming back. A couple of Goliaths up on the ground as well. I love that sound effect. Very cool. All right. Ooh, we do have a bit of a vulture run by here by HeroMarine. Let us attack. It is a good day to die. Is that what they say, or is that a different unit? I know they definitely say let us attack. As in, let us attack, or let us attack. Whichever you prefer. Corruptor added into the mix here as well for Solar. So he is ending up, after Ling Bane bust, he's ending up with Muta Corruptor. ByuN opting to go for a far more normal unit composition here. Marine Marauder tank. I would imagine we go into some Medivacs. Yep, we are. Not a bad idea. Here go the Corsairs, though, together now with those scouts. Yeah, they put in quite a bit of work. Don't underestimate them, man. They actually hit hard. Oh, they suck against... Oh, my lord. They really do suck against Corruptors, though. That seems to be where the scouts may be a little bit more useful. Probably want to be retargeting here onto the Mutalisks with the Corsairs. Careful, though. Those scouts are far slower. And this is not an army that can go home. Wait a second. Did we just accidentally go on a one-way trip? In the meantime, out onto the map, we see ByuN trying to stim through. He's found an opportunity to slip in between the siege tanks. Did we not get siege mode? We did, but HeroMarine just not in the right position. Okay, ultimately those Marines are gonna get destroyed. Looks like the Mutalisks did not quite win the war. Solar does still have a very superior supply advantage, though. Man, Corsairs are such a cool unit as well. I really do like Corsairs. They are neat. Marines, oh, just killed a command center here. This game is bloody. I'm secretly hoping, though, that we are gonna see Team StarCraft 2 in this game win, just so we can get a 5th and final game. That would be really nice. HeroMarine just lost so much stuff here. Yeah, he didn't have that many command centers to begin with. Likewise, Classic's economy is not that great either. Like, he probably wants to make the swap on over towards Skytos again with carriers and all the rest of it, but he's kind of stuck here playing scouts and Corsairs. And I don't really know if that is ideal. Solar, by the way, has been supply blocked for a while. I guess that we found out where those Corsairs and those scouts went to work afterwards. HeroMarine decides to GG out. Classic can't quite believe it yet. And despite the fact that Solar lost most of his units, it's ByuN who carries this victory on his shoulders. GG. And that means it all comes down to this. Final game in this best of 5 series takes place on Crimson Research Lab. In the upper left, we have Team Blue playing with the Brood War pieces. And then in the bottom right, HeroMarine and Classic playing StarCraft 2. And look at that. The boys that make a wall together stay together. That's what my grandma always says. And ain't that the truth? So look, it seems like the winning strategy, or maybe it's the loser strategy. Anyways, it seems like the strategy is to, when you lose a map, you give your opponents Brood War. That is the strategy employed throughout this series so far. And I wonder if it's actually true. I think it's probably just a comfort thing, right? Where this is a series with money on the line. I think there's like maybe 400 bucks or so for the 2v2 tournament. So, you know, you do want to at the very least put in a little bit of effort. And it seems that, yeah, these players, I mean, unsurprisingly so, are just more comfortable playing StarCraft 2 than they are StarCraft 1. But StarCraft 1 units have been very, very competitive. And I think a lot of it is just due to the fact that they are not as familiar with a lot of the things that you can do, right? I mean, really Classic not researching Storm, HeroMarine being kind of late on the siege tank research, right? So not getting the carrier carrying capacity and all the rest of it. I guess it makes sense to pick up the StarCraft 2 units primarily given the choice. So let's see. Actually, wait a second. Am I yapping out of my... No, never mind. I thought for a second I got everything twisted. Man, these games are a little bit confusing. I'm trying to keep track of so many things. And I'm just a guy with a small brain. Actually, I saw my brain on a MRI scan. 1 factory, 2 base. All right. I saw my brain. I do have a brain. Surprisingly enough, when I had my air operation not too long ago, the majority of my head is taken up by, at the very least, a thing that looked like a brain. Yeah, it exists. Now, to be fair, when I had to take an MRI scan of my ear, my brain was just like collateral. Not really why this scan was made. But good guy review dude did apparently analyze my brain as well. And in the report, it said that everything was normal. It said gray matter normal, all the different matters normal, normal, normal. I was basically called a normie. Yeah. By the MRI, like the radiologist, I guess, the technician. I'm not exactly sure. Anyways, apparently, despite all the years of StarCraft, I do have a reasonable brain. I was happy to find out that it is indeed the case. Anyways, we're gonna go into an Oracle here. Classic loves Stargate units, apparently. Adept going in around the site. Some spider mines coming into the mix as well. Spore colony building up here to protect the mineral lines against those oracles. It's not something we went for last time around, but of course the sunken and the spore colonies are very powerful. Look at that disgusting looking structure, my lord. Ugh. Ugh. One of the nastiest things that the Zorg has ever produced. They did make it a lot better, actually. A lot better looking, at the very least, in StarCraft 2, I suppose. They're like, do we want to look... Do we want to make it look like a human body part with multiple sphincters? Like, is that the vibe we're going for? Do we want our spore colonies or our spore crawlers to have exhaust pipes all around the side? It's an acquired taste. Ooh, and you know what? Ooh, apparently the Goliaths here don't do enough damage. The Oracle has been able to get 6 kills, which isn't bad, but you gotta be so careful. Yeah, they really are a funky looking unit. I never quite realized it, but it turns out spore colonies did get circumcised for StarCraft 2. Anyways, Spire coming up right now for Solar, who wants to be building some mutas. The developer of this game, actually, or one of the developers of the game, did mention that they have been working very hard at making the Mutalisks Micro as similar to StarCraft 1 as possible for the StarCraft 2 equivalent in SC Evolution, right? So, long story short, these units are apparently going to behave a little bit differently than last time we saw them. So, a lot of skill in SC1 is expressed through Muta Micro. It's just one of the things that people do. So, apparently, the developers have tried their absolute best to mimic it to the best of their abilities, and supposedly, with good control, these things are once more an absolute menace. Already, though, we have their natural StarCraft 2 enemy at the very least coming up, as Classic is making the transition, not to Scouts, not to Corsairs, but to Phoenixes. He's also getting Blink going and +1 air weapons, so all of these are excellent choices against Mutas. But here they are, flapping their little paper wings. Now, of course, Solar does have access here as well to Scourge. My god, look at these things, man. Sorry, I'm just gonna pause for a second. Look at the face of the Mutalisk. Ugh. Ugh. Gross. Alright, sorry. Let's continue onwards. We could go into Scourge as well if you want to blast the Skytools units of Classic out of the air. So problematic, though. Because the Mutas, yeah, they just get out-controlled so easily, I think, by Phoenixes. They can stack up a lot more like the StarCraft 1 counterparts, though. Look at that. They behave exactly the same. That's so funny. So StarCraft 1, what you normally would do is put, like, say, an Overlord in the same control group as the Mutalisks. And because of the distance between those units, you could clump them up way more comfortably than you could without it. It is one of the things that has developed over the years in StarCraft 1. So many little micro tricks. Some people would call it bug abuse, but ultimately it's just a ridiculous amount of skill required, right? And that's the nice thing about it. Even after the game did not get updated for some time, people still figured out new ways to make units viable and make them work, which is so cool. What upgrade was that we just saw finishing here? Did it get cancelled? What was it? I saw an upgrade. Oh, I think he cancelled it. Okay. Now, mutas in StarCraft 2, they regenerate really quickly out of combat. These mutas are a little bit more flimsy, it seems. Yeah, and this is my main concern, right? So the Phoenixes are just able to move and shoot at the same time. They can just snipe those little disgusting-looking bugs out of the air pretty easily. Solar is doubling down with the muta play right now, but I don't really love it. The way you counter the Phoenixes here as the Zerg player is to cross your fingers and hope you get lucky. These units basically can only kill the Phoenixes in theory if they are not controlled. Terran Mech in the meantime moving out. ByuN really wants to be fighting, but now he's fighting both armies single-handedly, and that seems risky to me. Yep, here we go. We are gonna move forward. He's lifting up the siege tanks, Classic that is, allowing, well, ByuN to push... Wait, no. I'm getting everything mixed up right now. It's Classic lifting up the siege tank so HeroMarine can break through. Oh my god. Yeah, the Phoenixes are actually just, dominating the skies. And ultimately, with that particular engagement going wrong for ByuN and Solar, it is HeroMarine and Classic who obtained the victory in this best of 5 series. And I gotta say, this was remarkably good. I wasn't entirely sure what to think of it going into this particular 2v2, but that turned out to be an absolute banger. GG.